Dr. Gibson, and I think I already told you I live here in this community. I am, first of all, a child of God.
Yeah. Amen.
Yes. And so on most Sundays, when I'm not out in the community, I'm at New Hope Baptist Church at 1615 Big Bethel Road. So I always have to tell people, tell Pastor Carter I'm over here visiting, because they'll be like, okay, what was she doing down there on Roanoke? So yes, and so I am an adult nurse practitioner. That is my profession. I've been a nurse for over 40 years. Yes. 23 years of that was spent in the U.S. Army. That's what paid for me to go to school. And then after that, my husband and I, we retired here in this community. And then I always have to tell people he's the other Dr. Gibson, but I'm the good looking Dr. Gibson. So if you have another Dr. Gibson who takes care of your diabetes at Riverside, he's the other Dr. Gibson. I think I trained him well. Yes. So on the paper, Dr. Andrews is here with me, and she actually is from Hampton University, and she'll tell you all about herself. I'm also a professor at Norfolk State University. I teach nursing because I'm a nurse. And then I also have an appointment at Eastern Virginia Medical School where I do research on Alzheimer's. And then, you know, we always do a few things. I also see patients now in the geriatric assessment clinic at Riverside. So, you know, when we ask you, you know, to draw a clock, we tell you to do all of this kind of stuff, you know. And if you're not drunk, we tell you to walk the lane. You know, I do that as a nurse. And so now Riverside, their geriatric assessment clinic, it is now called the Martha Goodson Center. And it is actually based out in Williamsburg by their hospital out there. So I didn't bring any of those things with me today, but if you need that information about the geriatric assessment clinic, and it's a clinic where if you have questions about, is my brain doing what it's supposed to be doing? And when we talk about some of these signs about dementia, you can self-refer yourself. Or you can tell your doctor, I want to come out there to the clinic and have a nurse like Dr. Gibson see you. You can do that. Okay? All right. So that's me. So now I'm going to let my partner introduce herself, and then we'll tell you a little bit more about why we're here today. Okay? All right.
Good morning. So I'm Dr. Ebony Andrews. I was born in Newport News, Virginia. Actually, most of my family on the Truett side were born here. I live in Carrollton, Virginia now. I am from Hampton University School of Pharmacy, where I actually graduated in 2004 as a pharmacist. So occupation, I'm a licensed practicing pharmacist. But as far as Hampton University, I am an assistant dean of academic affairs, an associate professor, and I teach geriatrics, geriatric pharmacotherapy, and amongst a host of other things. Let's see, as far as work, I own a consulting business. So as a consultant pharmacist, I forgot to bring my card, but I'm available. We can go over your medications anytime. I can help you work with your doctor to make sure you're on the right medications. Additional things that I do as a consultant pharmacist. I do a little part-time in independent pharmacies, one particular in Williamsburg that's actually owned by two of my former students. So I'm so proud of them. And I do a little bit of work with Rite Aid Pharmacy. So I'm practicing my field. And so I'm just really excited to be here with you. And I'm actually here in the capacity to share a little bit of my story because I am the primary caregiver of my mother, who is in the last stages of Alzheimer's disease, but she was diagnosed in her 50s. And so she's 79 now. So I am thankful. It's been a long journey, but I'm thankful and she's still here with us. And I'll share a little bit more about that.
Okay. All righty. So the first thing that I want to do while we're still waiting for my other partner to get here from Eastern Virginia Medical School, and she's a nurse too. How about that? I say this is the one time you get to talk to us and you don't have to worry about no copay. How about that? So, tell us, what are your questions before we get started about this conversation this morning? What are your questions? Yes.
Is Alzheimer's, is that hereditary?
Is Alzheimer's hereditary? Okay. All right. We're gonna address that. Okay. What's the other questions that you have? Because somebody may have that same question or somebody may have a different question. Yes.
The sleep pattern. That, during the day and up all night.
Okay. Is sleeping during the day and being up all night, does that mean you might be leaning towards dementia? Is that what you're kind of thinking about? Are the two connected?
Yes, for one thing, he has been diagnosed with early dementia.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
So I was wondering if I should change it around so that he can sleep at night and be up.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I think between the two of us, we can talk about that. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
With the dementia, like if you did it early, and you feel like he's progressing fast, but sometimes it seems that he isn't. So is it one time a day that they're more, do they repeat themselves more than one time a day than they do the other? Because it seems like as later in the day goes, it seems that he's more forgettable. Like sometimes you'll call me and then you'll call me again about maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes, something like that. Not even realizing that you already just talked to me.
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
Early 50s.
okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to actually let my colleague here, Dr. Andrews, address that when she talks about her journey with her mom. She will talk a little bit more about that, addressing your question about what is dementia and about what you can also do about sleep patterns. We're going to have some papers in hand so you can make some notes. So I'm going to wait on that piece to address that. Okay. You had a question.
Would your behavior be different? Like you be real irritated most of the time, or be your behavior, you know how to like say things that you would say to people.
Okay, so if you already have dementia, can you be more irritated? Okay, all right, okay. We can talk about that. All right, okay. All right.
Lifestyle changes you could implement to prevention of dementia.
Yes, lifestyle changes. And so actually, one of my papers that we actually have coming, I'm going to talk about the 6 pillars of good brain health. What can we do today, right? Because there are things that we can do to live better. So one thing that I am going to say to start out while I'm still waiting is that both of us have been participating in research. Even though she's a pharmacist and I'm a nurse practitioner, we know that research is important. And so we have learned over time that there are 3 things in the community that are causing the uptick of Alzheimer's, whether you have it in your family or not. So, do you know what one of those things could be? High blood pressure.
I believe that.
Yes.
My daughter, she has always had a problem. She had to go to the other side, and they would give her a pill to bring her blood pressure down, and it was that way for years. And kept telling her, go to the doctor, get the medication. But by the time she did get medication, I don't know if she was taking it the way she's supposed to or not.
Right. So
Blood pressure does.
So high blood pressure, but even more critical, high blood pressure that has been diagnosed between the ages of 40 to 64. Because a lot of times, we don't get our blood pressure diagnosed when we're young. It's after we've been working for a while, living life for a while, right? Doing things, raising a family. But in the Black community, especially, high blood pressure diagnosed between the ages of 40 to 64. Now, Dr. Andrews can speak to the fact too that it's best if your blood pressure that's being treated, if the pharmacology that's treating it is tailored to what we need as Black people. So, Dr. Andrews, what does that mean?
So basically, and this all comes from research, that they found that, there's a lot of medicine out here, right? But they're starting to find that there's medications that basically act differently in your body, right? So you and I can be on the same exact medication, but because of something going on with me, whether I have another type of condition going on, maybe the age difference, it could be anything, that we can take the exact same pill and it'll do just fine with me, but for you, it might make you extra sleepy. One of the medications that they found with high blood pressure in Black people is a medication. You ever heard of Norvasc? The generic name is amlodipine. That causes swelling in the legs, what we call peripheral edema. We just know this good old swelling, look like your legs looking like balloons, right? And so I actually ran across that. Unfortunately, I've been diagnosed with blood pressure, but then it went away, but now it's back in another form. But when I took Norvasc, I took it 3 separate times because I wanted to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. But it did happen. My legs swole up each time I took it. So I was experiencing that side effect that they have been seeing in the Black population. And so the thing about that is, it's a catch-22 for us. Because on the one hand, it might make you feel like, oh, well, they don't want to give me that medication because I'm Black, right? And while that might be true in some cases, especially when you talk about the real expensive stuff, which is unfortunate. But in other cases, there is real evidence that if you give this to someone who's Black versus someone who's white versus someone who's Asian, that medication is going to interact in their body in a very bad way. So it's really all about doing your research and asking questions. When your doctor prescribes you something, don't just say, oh, okay, I'm gonna go home and take this. Ask questions. And if he doesn't know, who do you need to be talking to? Who? Your pharmacist.
Your pharmacist.
Imagine that. We are right there.
The pharmacist, yes.
And we're free.
Yeah.
Now, I have my qualms about that sometimes. But the point is, you have to ask the questions. You be responsible for your health. You know what I mean? And if you're not able to ask the questions, take somebody with you to the doctor. I had to start going with my parents to the doctor because they were coming back with half information. And I'm like, and I don't know about that one. You know what I mean? Or I'm like, well, Dad, are you sure that's what you heard? Because now he's got a hearing issue. So I have to go because there are things he'll think the doctor said and he comes home angry. And I talked to the doctor and the nurse. They're like, who did tell Mr. Truitt that? We said this. So, but yes, there is evidence there are some differences. And it's not just in Black people. Like I said, it's in different races that, again, that comes with research and time.
I've had a pharmacist tell me that you need to ask about this drug to your doctor. So if I can ask a pharmacist, so what is my response to that person? Other than going back to my doctor?
Right. Okay. Number one, you should have been told her. I want to know who that was. No, but seriously, the only time I've ever told a patient to ask their doctor is a situation where the medication, I know what this medication is used for, right? Now, medications, they're FDA approved for certain things, but then over time, doctors will try what we call off-label use, meaning they found, oh, it works on this too, right? Well, if I'm talking to you and I'm asking, well, telling you it's for your blood pressure, and the patient might tell me, well, I don't have high blood pressure. And I'm like, okay, the doctor didn't say anything about blood pressure. The patient was like, no. So I said, well, and I pulled up all the other ways you could use the medication? And the patient says, no, I don't have any of that either. So then in that case, I would have to refer the patient back to their doctor to find out, go ask the doctor, why did he give this to you? Because I had a situation where it was the wrong medication. And by them going back to the doctor and finding out what they were supposed to get, we were able to get it straight and get it corrected. So that would be the only time that you will hear a pharmacist say something like that. But if they're just saying it just to be lazy because they're busy, well, then that's a problem and you should report it. Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a friend, she said, pain brings her blood pressure.
Right.
Yes.
So how, I mean, if she takes the medicine and she in pain, her pressure still gonna be up, right?
Well, so you take your medicine for your high blood pressure, right? But pain is a whole different process in the body. And what that basically, what's happening with pain is it makes your heart beat faster. And it puts stress on the body. And anytime you put stress on the body, the blood pressure does go up. And sometimes the medicine can't control that at that point, just like diabetes. That's your side of the fence. Diabetes, sometimes we have a patient on insulin, which is supposed to keep the blood sugar at a certain level, right? But let's say they eat something that they know they ain't got no business, right? It's gonna cause a spike that the insulin can't touch. So they have to take another one to bring it back down. So it's the same concept. Anytime you're sick, your body is sick, or pain or stress, that does shoot your blood pressure up. When I've had adult children and they're getting on my nerves, I know my blood pressure goes up.
Yeah. So here's the thing before I go back to some of the things that can predispose you or put you at risk for brain problems, okay? We know that having healthcare providers that look like us and talking to us make a difference, right? So when you said, why will the doctor say, thanks to me? It makes a difference when you have somebody like Dr. Andrews or Dr. Gibson who look like you, who's talking to you, right? That makes a difference because they're going to say things to you because they care. They're going to go the extra mile because they care, right? And so that's one of the other reasons that we are here today. We want to let you know that you have some other resources in your community, like the two of us, like Hampton University, like Eastern Virginia Medical School, like Riverside, that you'll be able to pick up the phone and you'll be able to call us when you're just not sure about something, right? Just like, what about the pharmacy question? What about the brain health question? You now know that anybody at Antioch Baptist Church can call us, right? And then if you lose our phone number, then you can go down the road and call Pastor Carter and say, where's that crazy nurse? And I know you don't mean crazy nurse, but good crazy, okay? And he'll be able to tell you how to, oh, there she passed me. And he'll be able to tell you how to find me too, okay? All right? So, does everybody have an ink pen?
No.
Okay, everybody got a pen or something? Uh-oh, you might have to find one. Okay. Do we have any pens? Everybody got? Okay, now, I didn't tell y'all, both of us are teachers. Uh-oh. Now, you already know that because we came from the college. Yeah. That's all. Oh, here we go. That's all we need. Okay. There we go. Because now you can't be at school and you don't have your utensils. As my grandmother used to say. That's right. And we at church, I ain't gonna say we in Sunday school, but is anyone else on this side on the page? Everybody got it. Okay. Everybody ready? Okay. Uh-oh, she need her pen. Okay, here we go. Now we ready. All right. Now. Okay, so I know that everybody has a piece of paper. Let me see. Oh, okay. So this one here, just turn it over on the back because it's black. Okay? Just turn it over on the back. The one here that says the book of Alzheimer's, turn it over on the back. Oh, well, it might not be blank on the back. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's all right. Don't worry about it. If it's not blank, don't worry about it. Okay. If it ain't blank, don't worry about it. Huh? Don't worry about it. That's all right. We're gonna work with what we got. Okay, so, oh, you know what? On the inside of it, on the very first page on the inside page is probably. Oh, no, it's all right. So at the bottom. At the bottom under the prayer where it says the attitudes of Jesus. There we go. Under that prayer, I want you to first write, high blood pressure underneath. Because I need you to remember what we just talked about. We first of all talked about high blood pressure. Yep, on the first page where it says where it says the 8 Beatitudes of Jesus. Everybody sign that page?
Yeah.
Here we go. Put high blood pressure. Because we just talked about high blood pressure. Okay?
Anybody need any plain paper, y'all good?
No, they don't need no, we don't need no extra paper because we're gonna put it up. Did you get the handout for today?
Yeah.
Okay, so turn over to the page that talks about the 8 Beatitudes. Can you, let's see, we'll find it for you. Can you help her find it? Okay. Now, we wrote down high blood pressure. Everybody got that wrote down? Okay. Now, that can affect your brain health, okay? Now, and I'm glad she talked about Norvasc. See, this is how the Lord works out stuff. Because you know what? One of my allergies that I have on my medical record is Norvasc. Now, a lot of times people think that, oh, it's just penicillin. That's not true. Because I know when I take Norvasc, it does what she says. It swells up because I have high blood pressure, but I know I can't take that medication. So if you have something that doesn't work well with your body, you got to make sure that it's written down on your medical record, okay? So I know I can't take penicillin because it breaks out my body, and I know I can't take that high blood pressure pill Norvasc, okay? All right, so we already wrote down high blood pressure. Okay, now let's look at the teacher over here. Okay, she ain't on the right page. Okay, this page that says Jesus. Top page. Dr. Gibson over here coming on up in Antioch doing whatever. Okay. High blood pressure. I know. She gonna send me back to New Hope Baptist Church. Okay. All right. Now, the next one that can affect your brain health, okay, is the sugar. What is the sugar? What is that? What's the formal term? Diabetes. Because we don't take care of that either. Hypertension and diabetes. All right? And that means that your diabetes needs to be less than the number 250. I don't care. People tell me, oh, girl, I feel good. My diabetes is 400. You lying. Okay? You might be walking around acting like you okay, but you're not. Okay? Now, the next one, so we talked about very briefly, because we just lay in the groundwork here today. So hypertension, diabetes, and then the other word I want you to write down, because I know y'all don't do this around here, smoking. Yes, because if you do these three things, and even if you don't have Alzheimer's in your family, it increases the likelihood that you can develop Alzheimer's 14 times. Yes, ma'am, by research. Did you know that? You know it now. I know. I know you might not never have me back over here. Okay. All right. So now we're going to pass out some fans because you asked me about what are the warning signs. Here we go.
You should y'all use this in church tomorrow so you can spread the word to someone that goes, what's that thing? People, you need to make education.
Yep, here we go, here we go. You know I come ready, I told you I'm the bag lady. I used to tell my mother I wasn't gonna be no bag lady. And what am I, the bag lady? Lord have mercy. I am the bag lady. Okay? We need another one? Okay, all right, so. Here we go. So. Okay, all right, so. You asked me, what are the warning signs? Okay? Here they are on the page. Okay? Now, these are just warning signs. They do not diagnose Alzheimer's. And I'm going to let Dr. Andrews speak to them because she might have seen some of these in her mom. Dr. Andrews?
Well, I'm looking at this. I see some of this in myself.
Girl, just stop.
Okay.
I see them all in my husband. I'm just kidding. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's see. Number one, for sure. The first time that we really truly realized something was wrong with mom was when she was supposed to meet my dad at someplace they were supposed to sign some important papers. And they had been going to this place for months, right? And so I was at work. I got a phone call from my dad panicking. He said, I need you to call your mom. I don't know where she is, and she doesn't know where she is. Can you call her? And I was like, what? So I called, and she told me she was sitting at a parking lot. And I said, okay. I said, well, what's around you? And she told me where she was. I said, okay. I said, hold on. And I used my work phone, and I called my dad back to tell him exactly where she was. He later told me that she was literally around the corner from where they're supposed to meet. Like all she had to do was just make a U-turn, and it was like right there. So that was the first time. So after that, my dad decided, you know what, maybe he should do all the driving. So that one was really important. Changes in planning or problem solving. Number 3 was a big one. Now, my mom was a cook. That woman could cook. She's from Martinsville, Virginia. Okay, them ladies up there can really throw down. Hence why our whole family looks like we're not missing any meals. And so after a while, mom started doing strange things. So one of her famous items was potato salad, and which I'm thankful I learned how to make. And so one time we're having a function at the house, and then a couple other functions, and I noticed some store-bought potato salad. And I'm like, Mom, why are you buying store-bought potato salad? She said, oh, I'm just gonna take it out, I'm gonna dress it up like I do. And I'm like, okay. The other specialty for her was collard greens, right? Well, one time we went to a family reunion, and we came back with those same collard greens. Normally they're the first things gone. Come to find out, Mama had used some canned greens, which was strange. Now she put it on the fact that, you know, she's tired of cooking. Now mind you, Mom was in her 50s. And she was like, I'm just tired of cooking all the time, so I'm just trying to take shortcuts or whatever. I said, okay. The straw that broke the camel's back was that sweet potato pie. Man, that she actually made it. It won't right. It was the worst pie I'd ever had. And so we knew, I was like, okay. So that was something. Also with that, changes in mood and personality. Definitely. Mom became more irritable. She was always very conscious about her purse, but it got to the point, like, even if you walked near it, like if I got about right here, she would snatch it. Or my husband and I renewed our vows, and we wanted to do, you know, the mother daughter, you know, the dance, the family dance stuff, right? And I've never seen my parents have a dance together, a slow dance together. My dad chose their favorite song, and when we went to get her for the dance, she would not get up because she didn't want to leave her purse. She wanted to take that, and she take big part of it everywhere she went, right? So we had to convince her to let someone watch her purse so that she could get up there and do the dance. And I think one of the saddest things that when I look back on it now, that I wish I knew then what I know now is my children. They used to watch the boys for us when we worked on the weekends or different things like that. And my youngest son came home, he was about 8. He said, Mom, I think something wrong with grandma. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, well, she kept asking me if I wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He said, and I told her no. But she asked me like 5, 6 times, did I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And I kept telling her no. It didn't dawn on me at that time what that was. I'm thinking, well, I just kind of brushed it off, honestly. What else? Confusion with time of place. I think that was, with the whole cart situation. Mom used to handle all of the bills and everything. She paid the bills. They didn't bring money home. She paid the bills, that kind of thing. So she handled all those important things. And things started happening. Lights were getting turned off. Water was getting turned off here and there. She had missed a couple of payments on the mortgage. Like, it was really strange. So definitely trouble with that. Definitely misplacing things. I would find things in the oddest places. So she used to start doing things like whenever we would go to a restaurant, you know how you have the napkin dispenser? Well, I would start watching her with the napkins. She'd take them, tear them in half, lay them beside each other, and just take her time and fold each one, place it, and then stick it in her purse. And I'm like, huh. So I moved the napkin dispenser. She looked at me and got mad and moved it back. Once again, we're taking the paper. I was like, okay. And I think the last straw for me, when from the diagnosis to watching the decline, was we went to their favorite place in Williamsburg, Golden Corral, and she needed to use the restroom, and my dad said, go with your mom to the bathroom. I'm like, well, it's right there. Like, why would I need to go with my mom to the bathroom? He just looked at me, go with your mother to the bathroom. Okay. So I went, we got in there. She's looking at me like, what are we in here for? You can see it all over her face. And I got her to the larger stall. She looked at me. She said, are you coming in? I said, okay. So I went in. And she just stood there. So I got the toilet paper, lined the toilet seat real good, like she used to do for me back in the day. And so she sat down and used the restroom. Again, just sat there. I said, well, Mom, you need to, wipe yourself. Again, she just sat there. So I got the toilet paper and gave it to her. She takes it and puts it over her face. So at that point, I said, oh, we're at that part now. So that was the first time I had to engage in those type of activities for my mother. And the decline has been a slow decline ever since. So there are signs that can be there. One thing people say is like, well, what if I forget my keys or where I put my keys? We all do that at some point. But it's dementia or Alzheimer's when you forget what those keys are for. There's a big difference. That's just like one of the tests that they do when they're doing those assessments. Sometimes they'll put a familiar object in your hand. It could be a paper clip, a watch, or a pen or something like that. And they'll ask you to close your eyes. And you should be able to close your eyes, and because it's familiar, tell somebody what it is, right? Well, if you can't tell somebody what a familiar item is, then that's when we know we're looking at dementia or Alzheimer's. So there is a big difference. Don't take every little thing that you do like, oh, it must be dementia. You know what I mean? It's usually going to be a set of things that's going on. But what I will say is if you have a spouse or a loved one or someone that you're close to, ask them to note when you start doing strange things, right? Like between my husband and I have some girlfriends, I tell them, if you ever see any signs of anything, please tell me so that I can go get myself checked out. So those are some of the things. Let's see. Problems with speaking words. So one of those things where that was a big one for my mom. My mom worked at NASA. And for her to all of a sudden start saying things like, instead of saying things like, I'm going to the store, I'm going to the Blackview. What? Then she'll correct it, I'm going to the store. Or one time I wore this really colorful polka dot shirt, and she walked by me and she rubbed the shirt and smiled. She said, "Oh, Blackie, Blackview." What was that? So as time went on, everything was Blackie, white you, Blackie, white you. So we had to learn how to decipher what she was talking about. And eventually we were able to do that because it's contextual. For example, when she started being incontinent, so needing the diapers, when she was wet and wanted to be changed, she would get a white you, white you. That's how you get up and change her, or it could be anything, but that's how, and every now and then she would do a regular English word, but for several years it was Blackie, white you. White you, white you, white you, white you. Blackie, 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 Blackie. You know what I mean? So that language changed, and I've never had a doctor tell me what that was about. So that's just some of the things that, and number 9, withdraw from work or social activity. She did get laid off from work because of the fact that they started noticing things and recommended she go to a doctor. And in 2006 is when she got the diagnosis at that time. But then she stopped wanting to go places. Mom was very social. She loved people. And so when she stopped wanting to go anywhere, everything was, and my dad was always antisocial. So it started being situations where when we wanted to do something, normally mom would say, "Okay, I'm going." I'm like, "What about daddy? He can sit at home." Versus, "Well, is your daddy going?" I'm like, "No." Well, then, okay, I'm not going to go. And so I could not detach her from him because he became, I think, like her safety blanket, type of thing. So that's just a couple of things.
Thank you. So I wanted to go over just a couple more things before we wrap up this morning.
Can I ask you?
Yes, ma'am.
My mom, I think she's going through this right here, but she will not admit it. She's not going to admit it. She 86. She went ahead and asked her, the laser surgery on her eyes. She think that because she had the laser surgery, she can see.
Oh.
But she can't see. She was wearing red lights and everything. And I was like, "Mom, you can't see."
Yeah.
And she be like, "This is my car, you can't tell me what to do." I go home, I can't
Yeah.
do it.
And so those are, and I'm going to actually go through it just a little about the progression of Alzheimer's. So actually, let's go back to this handout here that I gave you. I'm going to highlight a couple of things here in this handout, and then hopefully we'll be able to come back again, because I know we have a short morning, but hopefully, like I said, you'll have us come back again. Now that you know the nurse and the pharmacist, right? And then also we have a couple of geriatricians. Who knows what a geriatrician is?
You're old.
We ain't old. Okay.
Not old.
Seasoned, okay? Okay? Because I'm 65, okay? I can get Social Security, okay? I'm a diva, okay? That's what I tell my grandchildren, okay? Grandmama can still whoop you, okay? Okay. Now, in here, I want you to turn over to the page. It's going to say page 13. It has a little trumpet at the bottom, okay? Little trumpet at the bottom. Somebody had asked me, what is Alzheimer's, okay? Alzheimer's is just one type of dementia. Put a circle around the word dementia. Dementia is the big word. No, right here. Dementia is the big word. Dementia. Turn over to page 13. Down at the bottom, page 13. Yeah. Okay. Dementia is the big word, right? Alzheimer is just one type, okay? Now, let me tell you, how many people know that Wendy Williams has been diagnosed with a type of dementia, right? Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with a type of dementia. Their dementia is called frontal temporal dementia, right? Some of us are old enough to know Tony Bennett, right? He has a type of dementia, okay? The boxer, what's his name? Muhammad Ali. He has Parkinson's, right? Parkinson's is a type of dementia. Now you know that, right? Muhammad Ali. But we don't call it dementia, we call it Parkinson's, right? Now, Alzheimer's, look at it, it's in the middle, it's the biggest type of dementia. So when you say Alzheimer's dementia, it's not the big term, it's only a type of dementia. So I wanted you to know that today, okay? So when you say that, it's just a type. It's just a type, okay? All right. Now I want you to go to, so I want you to go to the back. Yes, ma'am.
This dementia is their frontal lobe. It
Frontal temporal, the brain has different lobes. And so when we diagnose you, if you were to ever come and see me in the clinic, right? And we do all these exams, and if we ever sent you back to your doctor, then they would do an MRI or a CT scan of your brain. And if you were diagnosed with Alzheimer's, we would actually be able to see the changes in the lobe of your brain. Okay? And then that would tell us exactly where the Alzheimer's is present. Okay? All right. The last thing that I want to go over is what good things you asked me, what can we do to prevent Alzheimer's? So the back page. So it talks about the 6 pillars of brain health back here. Okay? The 6 pillars. And then I'm going to talk about, before we leave, what we have in our community to help people that already have family members with Alzheimer's. So, number 1, regular exercise. Okay? Give you that. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that you got to go to a gym. Okay? And I'm going to leave some of these up here for the other people from the church that weren't here. Okay? Regular exercise actually helps to reduce the risk by 50%. Even if you did something as simple as just walking, okay? Because I always tell people what's good for the heart sends extra oxygen to the brain, okay? It's that simple, okay? The next one, quality sleep. Now, people will tell me, I get 4 hours, that's good. No, that's not true. Because look at that. Sleep is necessary for memory formation and flushing out brain toxins. You need at least 6 to 8 hours. So if you were to come and see me in the clinic, I always will ask people, when you go to sleep, are you able to stay asleep? That's why your doctor asks you that question. And that's why your nurse might ask you that question, or your PA might ask you that question. When you go to sleep, can you stay asleep? Right? Because you know how sometimes people will say, well, I go to bed at 9 o'clock, but I'm back awake by 1. Okay? That sleep helps to flush out the toxins. Okay? That's the key. You're learning all kinds of good stuff today. Y'all gonna be so smart. Okay? Now the next one, healthy diet is in the middle. It reduces the inflammation that inhibits communication between brain cells, right? And so a healthy diet, first of all, I'm a nurse. I got to tell you the right way. 3 meals a day, okay? Breaking the fast. Breakfast. Dr. Gibson ate before I came here today. I don't care what you do before 8 o'clock, whatever you do to break the fast, something, lunch, dinner, and even a bedtime snack. I always tell people, living healthy, you learned all of that before you went to kindergarten. You go, what? What does that mean? Okay, because I'm also a diabetes educator. Before you went to kindergarten, your mother never let you go to school without breakfast. When you went to school, you had lunch. When you came home, you ate dinner. And if you were really good, you might have had a snack. So everything you learned about good nutrition, you learned it when you went to kindergarten. There's the lesson. You only have to go to the doctor for that. Okay, now, next one. Stress management. Improves key memory area of the brain and promotes nerve cell growth. Even when you're 70 and 80, you still are having nerve cell growth. Okay, now, what is stress management? If my husband ain't cleaned out the garage, and I was leaving the garage this morning, he ain't gonna do it. Okay, I'm not gonna get stressed. All right, you gotta let it go. Whatever the stress is, you gotta let it go and move on. The next one, mental stimulation. Learning new things and challenging the brain helps to delay development of Alzheimer's disease. We also have up here, I know a lot of you might do word puzzles and different things. So we have those things up here. I'm still a teacher, right? I have some of my friends that are like, girl, why are you still teaching at 65? Because I want to, okay, number one. And because I'm still gonna be doing what I'm doing and you're gonna be whatever, okay? Because I'm challenging my brain, okay? Now, active social life. The better connected we are, the better we fare in our quality of day-to-day life. Pick up the phone and call somebody. Go to lunch with your friends. Come out on Saturday. It's all a good thing. So those are the things that we can do for good brain health. Now, the last thing that I gave everybody was the Alzheimer's Association is available in our community. For those of you who may already have a family member who's living with Alzheimer's, okay? Their phone number is up there on the top. It's 1-800-272-3900. Now, they actually have services that are free. I'm going to say the word again. Now, unless there's a whole somebody that's a millionaire and they didn't tell me. Free, okay? And they are available to talk to you 24/7. Okay? They have services for caregivers, right, Dr. Andrews? Another time, and I served as a volunteer for them. And so they actually gave us a lot of these resources, the fans and everything, okay? And then there will also be some other small conferences that are coming up that are available to you. This is the other handout that I gave to you here. And then also on the 20th, I left this one up here. It's called, it's virtual Alzheimer's education. It stands for faith leaders, but all of you all are faith leaders, okay? And it's gonna be over the computer, virtually. But definitely any of these, somebody asked me on this one right here, you asked me about behaviors, right? So look down at the bottom, it says, understanding and responding to dementia-related behaviors. The very last one here. This one here. Yeah, that one. Yeah, look down at the bottom, the very last one. There you go, in your hand. There. Oh, this one, here you go. See right there? I think you asked me about behaviors. This one talks about support groups. I'm sorry. Okay? Okay, I'll get it for you. It's up there at the front. Okay? So those are being offered by Centera. So those of you that might not, I'm sorry, here it is. They're up here. Oh, here we go. Can we give these to them? I'm sorry. We'll pass that out to you, okay? Because the last one on there is the only one that's still available. We're going to send, I also gave you the group about support groups. For those of you who are already caring for people that have, I'm passing out the one about the behaviors. Because those of you that already are caring for somebody with dementia, Dr. Andrews is bringing it to you. You might want to attend that one that talks about behaviors. You asked me, what do you do if somebody's irritated? The very last one on there talks about dementia behaviors. The very last one on the bottom. It would be great if you signed up for that. See it right there? The very last one right there? That one there. That one would be really good to attend. So with that, Dr. Gibson is going to stop and Dr. Andrews is going to stop. And that's all we have this morning. And I want to thank you for having us. We also brought some juices and some danishes. So you can, have those, take them with you, whatever. And thank you for having us. And actually, if everybody could actually come up to the front, we want to take one big group picture, but we want to have questions first. So don't leave. But let's get at least about 5 minutes of questions, though. But thank you. Hopefully, it won't be boring.
Have to have a question.
Oh yes, yes.
Well, most of our members know that I've had to deal with this particular disease over the last several months. And the doctors and the nurses can't help you. I have come back from a lot of things that things that were mentioned you. I forget where you put your keys at. Next thing you know, you got your keys in your hand. Yeah. Or you're going somewhere that you've gone for years and forget how to get it. To deal with all of those things. The doctor prescribes certain medications and so forth. And I have gotten a lot better than us. There's hope for us, but we have to be willing to go and get the help. Don't be too proud.
Right.
Not to go and get the help. And my particular doctor, she was able to get me to some skill that were able to help me find it. So,
Thank you.
I think there was a question about the change in behavior as the day goes on.
Oh yes.
There's a term for that. It's called sundown.
mhm.
And so that is correct. By certain parts of the day, especially when the sun literally starts to go down, the behaviors do change. And you tend to become more irritable is the issue. My mom experienced that quite a bit. We would notice it. She would become irritable. And we went through the phase of where I would get hit a couple of times. Or she started to spit. That was an interesting phase. I remember one time I was sitting on the couch and I was talking to my dad and she was sitting beside him and then all of a sudden she just got up and then she walked towards me, looking at me. Then she right on the top of my head and ran. It made me cry because it hurt. Mom has always had a heavy hand and right there on the top of your head. Woo! But as far as and then with the behaviors and dealing with the behaviors, learning how to redirect the conversation. So when mom would start to ask me over and over and over again about things like if my dad left the room, where's your dad? Where's your dad? I'm like, he went to the bathroom. Where's your dad? He went to the bathroom. So I'll be honest. At first, I did get really upset with her because it is a frustrating process. But as the pastor said, you got to ask for help and get the resources. And so that's when I learned about redirecting. So I would just change the conversation. Ma, you want to go with me to get your hair done? Oh yeah, where we going? Then we got to the point where mom was always, one thing about my mom, she always looked good and smelled good. Even down to, she taught me when you leave the house, you don't leave the house any kind of way. I don't care if you're just going right up to the street, like literally to the street, or you just going to the mailbox. You just don't. And so when mom started to, I noticed she wasn't combing her hair as much and things like that. And then she wasn't smelling as good. And so what we learned how to do is, and they end up moving in with us, is my dad will, now I'm in the same house. Daddy would call me on my cell phone. Baby, come in here and get your mom to take a bath, please. Okay. So what I had to learn how to do was, Mom, you want some ice cream? Yeah, you got some? I do. But listen, I need you to go take a shower and put this on for me. She said, okay, and I'm gonna get my ice cream after. I got you. Now you gotta follow through. You can't make promises and don't, you know what I mean? So those are some of the things like with behaviors, learning how to just change the conversation. Don't go back and forth. And the biggest thing is do not argue. I don't care how much you said something. Don't argue because it makes it worse for them. They get even more agitated. And sometimes it can lead to violence. You know what I mean? So you got to be really careful with that. Now, there are medications to help with the behaviors. From a pharmacist side, yes, there are medications that help with the behaviors. From a caregiver side, I wouldn't be too quick to jump to those particular medications because they have their own set of side effects. We did try one on my mom and it affected her so deeply, like she slept for like 4 days. And so I said, nope, we're not doing that. So, but you just have to be careful, but there are options out there for that. And a lot of it is activities, doing activities with them, keeping them stimulated in a positive way. As far as the sleeping all day and up all night, things we tried was the stimulation during the day. Purposely turn the radio on. Like my mom loved music. Turn the radio on, keep the TV up, get them up. Hey, come on, let's go. You gotta keep them moving, keep them moving so that wears them out. By the time you get to the end of the day, they're tired and ready to go to sleep. So that's one way to try. Also avoid caffeine. Just avoid caffeine, period. All right, that's not very helpful in dementia. Also, like if they already have like any type of incontinence issues and stuff like that, don't give them a whole bunch of stuff to drink late in the evening because that's going to keep them up all night to have to keep going back and forth to the bathroom. So those are just some small tips.
And then I'm just going to give you some recommendations. I know that many of you, again, are thinking, what should I do for brain health? I'm not sure about my brain health. I told you that Riverside, many of you live here on the peninsula, they actually have a memory care center. It's called the Martha Goodson Center. And whether your doctor refers you, because it can be paid for by Medicare, or you pay for it yourself, believe it or not, it's all of, to come in and be evaluated, it's all of $290. Now, what's $290 to know about your brain health, right? EVMS has a memory care center, and I think that she brought, she did, here it is. And of course, Dr. Gibson was running out this morning and didn't bring the ones for Riverside. But if you live on the south side, it's called the Comprehensive Memory Care Center at EVMS. What I will do, since I live over here, I will come back next week and bring the ones for Riverside. But these are the only 2 memory care centers in this area. And we as a people, we can't keep running and saying, I don't want to know what's going on with my brain health, okay? We can march in the street and we can do everything else, right? But I want to be around to raise my grandchildren, okay? I want to be around to raise my community. And so I want to make sure, how we come to church and we say, I'm in my right mind? We got to be in our right minds, okay? That's why we out here on a Saturday, okay? Or if we're caring for somebody who has Alzheimer's, then let's take care of our people in our community and use the resources that we have, right? The other people are using the resources. They're using the money. We got to use the money too, because it's out here, right? My last plug, okay? How many people are familiar with the Peninsula Agency on Aging? Everybody looking at me like, what the heck is that, Dr. Gibson? Okay. Okay. Now, how many people know what Meals on Wheels is? Everybody know what that is, right? Okay, that is administered by the Peninsula Agency on Aging. The Peninsula Agency on Aging is a government agency. Yes. Okay. And guess who sits on the board of that? Dr. Gibson. Okay. You don't know where Dr. Gibson might end up. Okay. So they actually have programs that are called memory cafes. So if you have a family member who has dementia, and I'll make sure I bring that back too. That if you need a little bit of a break, you can take them to some of the memory cafes, and some of those are available in our local libraries.
Awesome.
How about that? You didn't know that, did you? Girl, please. Okay. Yes, you can take them there for an hour. It gives you a little bit of a break. We have certified dementia providers, people that are social workers. So that's why I'm glad we stopped on by today. That's what we use our gifts for. The Lord blessed us to be able to go to school and do that. And that's what we do. Okay. So now I'm going to shut up. Okay. All right.
But the Peninsula Agency on Aging will provide heat for the winter. They will provide
Fans. Yes.
air conditioning.
Yes. And all of that is from money that they get through the Older Americans Act that has been signed through the federal government. Okay. So I will also bring you some flyers. Okay. I'll have them come because they got people to bring it here. Okay. To bring it here so that you have some flyers here in the church for that. Okay.
And also, if you have Medicaid, or if you don't, and you may qualify, because this is what I had to do for my parents because we needed aids, we needed help. So there's something called the LTC, a long-term care CCC waiver, and that will allow Medicaid to pay for aids. So the aid that comes in to help my mom is paid for through Medicaid.
That's right.
And also pays my husband because he's at home with her. He takes care of her primarily because I'm still working. And also allows me to have an aid for my dad, to send an aid for him. So those are things like you'd be surprised at the services that you can get. Also, depending if you have Medicaid, that dual Medicaid, Medicare, where they'll send those cards that pays for over-the-counter items, groceries, and things like that. I cannot tell you what a blessing that has been, because that's how I purchase all of the bed pads and the wipes and the different things and the medicine, and on top of the groceries and things like that for my parents, right. To be able to offset money that we're already spending outside of that. But there's a lot out here, you all. You just got to ask the question. Right. And the last major thing I will say is this. If you are a loved one, especially are in those early stages, that is the time you must get your affairs in order when it comes to power of attorneys and those type of things. I was able to do it with my dad because we learned the lesson, but I am fighting to get things straight. For my mom, I have to have a letter from the doctors. Like, it's all these other extra steps. They'll call sometimes and say, well, can I speak to Miss Truitt? I'm like, she can't talk. Well, I have to talk to her in order to get consent. So you know what I said one time? I said, okay, well, I'll just put the phone to her ear and maybe she'll give you a black and white or something. You want to wait for it? But I can't, that's probably the number one thing. Please get those type of things in place. Who that go-to person is that's going to handle your affairs, and who the backup person is. Those are very, very on all of your items, your insurance, your bank accounts, whatever you need to get done, you need to get it done in those early stages, because once they get past a certain stage, then it's going to take, either you might have to go to court for it. There's just different things you would have to go to. But I would say also talk to the Alzheimer's Association, and they will help walk you through that as well. These are just lessons we learned, unfortunately, late.
Yes.
Yeah. When you say talk to your parents, me and my mom, we never got along. It seems like join the church we do now.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one, you're not gonna know what's in her bank account. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna get it. She's not gonna give it to you. She won't even use her card. It came with her bank account. She won't put nothing on the card or nothing.
Mhm.
And how you go about doing that?
Well, and those, that's why this 1-800 number, okay?
Mhm.
When you call this 1-800 number with the Alzheimer's Association, first of all, you come back to our local organization. The person that you are going to talk to is going to be a social worker who is a master's prepared social worker. So let me tell you that, okay? And they're going to talk to you about how do I talk to my mom? How do I get whatever the resources are? And that's where we start. And that's why they have volunteers like myself. Even though I'm prepared as a nurse practitioner, I'm also then prepared as a volunteer. So we talk through all of those different scenarios. They have lawyers who work with them, who work pro bono to help you prepare a will if you don't have a will. So these are all services that are available in our community. So again, we came here today to tell you what's out here. Peninsula Agency on Aging, Riverside, EVMS. Because again, a lot of times in our community, we just don't know because nobody ever comes and tells us, right? So, and we want, don't keep it here at church, okay? Share with everybody else, okay? Don't keep it in your purse, all right? And so this is just the start, okay? And we might not solve everything, but even if we reach 2 people, that's 2 more people that know what to do the next time, right? Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again. I'm going to turn it back over to our hostess. And then again, the last thing, take something with you. But again, we want y'all to come on up here because we want to remember who we saw today, okay? So come on up here. And we're going to have somebody. Okay, thank you. Let me grab this.
They do it first, you can.
Of course, yeah, yes, you do. Everybody don't always have to. Okay. I guess, can we move this to the, we'll move that over to.
The pharmacist.
Yes.
I have a question for the
Okay, well, we'll take this quick picture and then we both will still be here. We're not going nowhere. Yes, ma'am. Everybody just gather around together. Oh, here you go. Oh, let me get.
Always.
Oh, okay. Let me get this on here.
Well, I actually get to be tall today.
Oh, Lord, I get to be tall today. Oh, Lord. Oh, you get to be tall today? Oh, Lord. Hey, here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, let me move this. Hey, girl.
It's my hair.
Here we go.
Who's taking the picture?
This way.
Oh, we're gonna look at him.
All right.
Here we go.
I had a good, and I'm easy.
Let me take my glass.
Mhm.
You got it? All right, thank you.
Oh, wow.
All right, then I'm gonna send
Awesome.
it to the pastor and I'm gonna send it to Miss Ebony. Okay. All right, hi, everybody. All right, there we go.
Oh,
All right. And then we're still here, so everybody grab something while we're mixing and mingling.
Thank you, babe. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I gotta.